Spain won, Argentina nil in extra time, man. What a World Cup win for Spain, 2026 World Cup winners. And on top of that, they had probably one of the most dominant tournaments we've ever seen. These guys only let one team score on them, let in one goal the entire tournament. Incredible, incredible, incredible defense from Spain. And you talk about Spain, every level, they're dominating. Euros, they're winning. The Youth Euros, they're winning. World Cup, they're winning. Women's World Cup, Olympics, you name it. What they're developing in Spain as a country, as like a nationwide footballing developmental program, it's incredible. You have to give flowers to what they've done in that country and to this team because this team was so dominant. And we tend to give a lot of shine to the attackers, right? Yamal, Oyarzabal had a great tournament. Yamal not so much, but we give the shine to the attackers, and I get it. That's what they do. They attack, they score the goals. It's all good. But this Spain team works and is so dominant, not because of like a Yamal or Baena or whoever, right? It is this midfield and defensive line and Unai Simon, because Unai Simon sweeps every long ball, makes clutch saves. Kubarsi and Laporte are so composed. Porro and Cucurella are so technically secure. In this midfield, they find the best positions to receive the ball. They're so press resistant, and they platform their attackers for success. So that, for me, is why the Spain team is so dominant, and they really should be getting a lot of credit. I see Rodri just won Golden Ball, so I think the guys at FIFA agree with me. Man, incredible, incredible tournament. I don't know if Rodri was the best player in this tournament, but he's the best player on the best team, so I'll give it to him. Anywho, let's also talk about Argentina, because this final was awful for them. Awful. I mean, the only person who deserves any praise really whatsoever is Emi Martinez. Emi Martinez had the game of his life. And Emi Martinez is a player for me where I always thought he was overrated. I thought this guy, he just gets overrated because he won a World Cup with a great Argentina team. And he had a good World Cup. But on top of that, I think like his antics really put me off, bro. He doesn't play football. He just plays mind games. I was always not a fan of Emi Martinez. But I can admit today, I could see why he gets some of the praise he gets, because that was an incredible performance. He made some incredible saves, especially when that Nico Williams chance came in. I thought Spain for sure had it, but he made an incredible save there, and he kept his team in the game somewhat, because for me, Argentina were never really in the game. But let's also talk about this game, because not only were Argentina never in it, but Spain, it just took them so long to figure out Argentina, it felt like. And, look, I thought it was a matter of time at one point, because Spain were just so dominant. As much as Argentina tried to survive, Spain looked like the better team from minute one. And like I said, this midfield and defense, you just can't get the ball off of them. And sometimes offense is the best defense, right? Keeping the ball, continuing to be a dangerous in attack. That just Argentina just dropped. They couldn't deal with it. I wonder what Scaloni's approach to this was. Was he always going to aim to sit back? Was he maybe trying to press? I saw DePaul and like the front line trying to press sometimes, but it's always hard to press when you have Messi in your team, because he just doesn't press. He doesn't have the legs for it. So I wonder what the approach was there. But look, Argentina just thoroughly outplayed. And, we can talk about that Enzo Fernandez second yellow. It's not controversial at all. And quite frankly, Enzo Fernandez is a player I never rated. So I'm a little bit biased here, but rightfully so, right? And you also talk about with Argentina, not only were they thoroughly outplayed this tournament, Argentina, let's call it what it is. They have been getting away with murder. Okay. Some of these fouls, I mean, that McAllister foul on Danny Olmo, you're telling me that's not even a yellow? Man, some of the stuff they get away with is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And as a neutral, I'm going to be honest with you. A little bit happy that Argentina didn't win today, because the stuff they got away with this entire tournament, nah, not deserving of a World Cup champion. So, look, that's just me. I'm trying to be a little bit objective here, but they got away with a lot. But I don't think that was ever going to be enough to stop this Spanish side, because Spain is just that good. Spain might be the most dominant, national team we've seen since Spain, actually. France has always been very good, but France never, dominate games like that, right? Spain dominate games from minute to end. This France team that we've seen since basically 2016, that have been in a bunch of finals and semifinals, they never dominate the game. They're just good in moments. And not saying they're always outplayed, but, France just never hit that level for me. But the Spain side, whew, no, any team, even the old Spain that won in 2010, would have trouble versus this team, because this team is just so good, man. Although I give it to that Spain side still, because their attack is better, but just lets you know the level. The level is incredible. So yeah, Spain, absolutely deserving winners. And we talk about just them figuring it out. great piece of possession on this goal by Ferran Torres. Porro crosses to Nico Williams. Nico Williams crosses back. Ferran Torres finishes on the volley. And yeah, man, I mean, it was just a matter of time. And, Argentina already had 10 men, never really had a chance afterwards. They did have that half chance, I think. It was Messi to, it might have been Simeone. Simeone crossed it, but Spain were able to, defend that pretty well. And yeah, just miles off of today, Argentina, and Spain miles better. But before I end, I want to cover a few things because we'll talk about this World Cup aftermath, right? The future for Spain looks great, looks bright. Other guys are in their prime. The next two tournaments, they're probably the favorites, you know? But also, if you look at their development, you could even go on to say that for the next four tournaments, they're the favorites because they won the Youth Euros. Their youth teams are so good. So, I mean, a lot remains to be seen, but this Spain team is going to be dominant for a while. I genuinely believe so. Now, for Argentina, I don't know what happens because post-Messi, this future looks a little stark. And yes, you have some good guys, right? McAllister, DePaul is kind of older, so maybe not him, but Simeone's solid. Obviously, Julian Alvarez is great. But I look at this Argentina side and post-Messi, I think it just no chance because when you look at Argentina, Messi is not just someone they play for. It's more than that. They like act for him, right? He almost controls their mood, right? So for him to leave, I think it's going to be a big blow mentally, and I think it's a hurdle they're going to have to take some time to get over because he just does so much for them, like mentally and spiritually even. Like Messi just is so important to them, and then also on the pitch, right? He creates so well, so it's going to be tough for them, I think, to rebound from this. However, speaking of Messi, I do want to take some time to say thank you to Messi because, look, as much as we hate watch, as much as we complain about Pessi or stolen Ballon d'Ors, whatever it may be, man, this is genuinely maybe the best player we've ever seen in our lives, right? Maybe the best player we will ever see in our lives. So for us to be able to witness his career from Ankara Messi to the El Clasico goal in 2017 to now winning or being in his World Cup final, his third World Cup final at 40. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. So shout out to Messi, man. Thank you for your contributions to the sport. And hey, man, wasn't your day, but I'll tell you what, you've already impacted a generation. So every day's your day. Anywho, thank you to Messi. And now we're on to the new era. Now, speaking of new eras, let's talk about this World Cup because this World Cup, I think, leaves football in a weird place almost, right? Because Messi and Ronaldo persisted so long, it feels like the Mbappe era is it's his World Cup. I think Mbappe and Holland left this World Cup as the guys, right? And Holland especially grew in popularity massively, and Mbappe top scorer, right? But I think because Messi and Ronaldo lasted so long, it almost feels like it could also just go to the next generation, right? Like it can go to your Yamals or these younger guys. I don't know. Football is not necessarily so linear where it's like, okay, the chapter ends here and the next chapter begins, right? There's always overlap. But I wonder, because Yamal didn't have a great tournament, I think you could say we're in the Mbappe and Holland era now, right? And to be fair, both of their teams aren't necessarily winning much lately, but I can't really go and tell you. Maybe we could add the Dembele era because they're also not winning Ballon d'Ors, Mbappe and Holland. So I'm just interested to see, where is football right now? Who is the leader? Because look, Messi is Messi, of course, Ronaldo's Ronaldo, but once they're out of international football, who's the leader of football? You're going to say Mbappe and he's the most popular, but as far as winning and performing, you could argue it's Ousmane Dembele. You could genuinely argue that. And he doesn't have the popularity, but he's got the performances to back it up. And maybe we always thought it'd be the Mbappe and Holland era, but maybe it's like the Dembele Yamal era. Who knows? There's still more to see, more to develop. And Dembele's also older than both Mbappe, Holland, and also Yamal. So that era might not last all that long, but I'm just very interested to see who's taking football forward. Who's gonna be the flag bearer. Obviously Yamal will have his time. I don't know if it's now. Maybe it is, but I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Vinny will probably come up in there. Obviously, Jude Bellingham would definitely come up in there. So we'll see what happens. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is Ballon d'Or, because I think outside of Spain, the biggest winners from today's final probably is Harry Kane and Ousmane Dembele, because Yamal hasn't had a great tournament. And if you're pushing Yamal for Ballon d'Or, you can stop right now because he look at all of the stars and their stats and then look at Yamal's stats for this World Cup. And it's like Yamal had nothing to do with Spain winning this World Cup. You know, he wasn't the biggest factor, basically. I don't want to say nothing. That's a little hyperbole, but he wasn't the biggest factor, right? So because of that, I think you can argue Harry Kane should win it based off of 70 goals and a domestic treble, semi-final of a World Cup, and he had a good World Cup. But also Dembele won everything, and he won the Champions League, bigger than anything Harry Kane won, and he had probably as good of a World Cup as Harry Kane. So it really could be anyone. It could be Kvara. It could be Kvara. And look, I'm a PSG fan, I know, but you guys are gonna be like, oh, bias. But none of the guys at the World Cup won the World Cup. None of the main contenders won. So you could argue Kvara had, a great club season, won Champions League. You could argue it's him, man. You could. It'll be interesting to see. Mbappe still also got a chance because Mbappe's, I think, with this World Cup, Mbappe reclaimed his status as best player in the world, right? It'll be like he has to still do it at club level. He still has to lead Madrid to something. But right now, if you ask someone who the best player in the world is, I think 6 or 7 out of 10 of them would say Mbappe, because this World Cup's been incredible for him. It has. So I don't know. I don't know who's gonna win this Ballon d'Or. I really think it's in flux. And I thought if Argentina won the Ballon d'Or would be in more flux. But Spain winning, and especially with Yamal not having any output in these games, you can't say. You can say this is in anybody's Ballon d'Or. It really is anybody's Ballon d'Or. With that being said, incredible victory for Spain. Football is in quite a weird place. Now we're a little bit on the break. We're going to be talking about transfer windows and stuff here at OliFooty as we kind of get through this off season. Very excited for August 12th, I believe, or whatever the date is for the UEFA Super Cup. We'll be back for that. That'll be our next post-match review. But man, what a World Cup it's been. Make sure you guys go follow that playlist, man, if you want to just relive some of these moments. But overall, man, what a great World Cup. Thank you to all of the new fans for coming on this ride. Cannot wait to have you along with me. Wow. Shout out to Spain. Shout out to you guys, the fans, and shout out to OliFooty, huh? Thank you guys yet again. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, we